Hi everybody, Dr. Keith here with another brilliant webinar. I'm speaking to you in a beautiful spring evening in the wilds of France. And France is pretty wild at the moment with the COVID scare that's going on, as you know. And I've got two wonderful guests, Rob and Laurie, who usually join us and share with this. They're the experts. I'm not the expert. I'm the kind of voice, the figurehead. I know a lot of stuff, but I mean, I'm going to be here to sort of master of ceremonies and draw on the questions and so on. For those of you that will notice, we don't have lovely John Hachet here tonight. He's not with us, but he's on the professional pro. You will meet with him if you choose to learn more about microcurrent therapy. So he's around, but he's not able to be on this with us. Okay, so we are going to be talking about microcurrent therapy, and this is one of I've invented all kinds of mottos for this, haven't I? Every home should have one, a hospital in your hand, and one of these little catchphrases, healing for almost anything for pennies on the dollar. Because if you've got one of these simple devices, you can use it over and over, and the more times you use it, the more healings you get, the cheaper it became to heal. And literally it's down to pennies in the dollar compared to even natural health things like, if you go and have a massage or some aromatherapy, it costs money. Supplements cost money, but eventually this will amortize itself down to just buttons. It's just something, one of my jokey sayings, as I said, was every home should have one. You need one of these in the medicine cupboard, and it doesn't matter. Anything painful, breaks, cuts, scratches, bruises, sore throats. I'm not going to mention the C word, not tonight, not ever. But I can tell you that it's very good for viral infections. It's really good at boosting the immune system. And that's something that all of you are going to want to see about. Okay, so let's look at the team. We want to show you, this is before the team, okay. There are reasons why disease doesn't heal, and they're not actually even difficult. You've just got to be aware of them. Even orthodox medicine is somewhat aware of them, but they've got no clue when it comes to, all they do is pump drugs, and as we'll see why that's a very bad solution, why it's not really dealing with the problem, basically. But if you do the proper healing of the real cause, not the imagined cause, you get a good result. Okay, so most of you know me. This is me, a British trained medical MD. Some people, I say wild things, so some people occasionally say, are you a real doctor? I say, of course I'm real. Come here, come up and touch me. But what they mean is that, it doesn't sound like I'm a regular trained conventional MD, and thank God I'm not. Because that's just a pill pushing career. I've got much more interest in that. I did reference the book just in the lead up to this. My book, Medicine Beyond, will tell you the bigger picture of what we're talking about, which is health as an electromagnetic phenomenon. It's not about enzymes and molecules and stuff, in other words. It's really about energy, and the primary manifestation of that is electrical energy. Okay, enough of me. So here's the family, the Hachets, as it were. I like that scarf, Laurie. It's lovely. It's really bright. And John and Rob, who we got with us. So we'll have you tell us about yourselves. I think I've got a slide for you, have I, Laurie? I can't remember. Let me just go forward. No, we haven't. We don't. So we'll do the family, starting with you. Ladies first.
Okay, so I've been in the business for now, I was trying to work it out the other day, nearly 30 years. Oh. It's a long time.
You don't look that old, sweetheart.
Feel that old sometimes, but the devices do feel not quite so old. Yes, 30 years as a naturopathic doctor and 21 years doing microcurrent, so a long time.
Yeah. And in fact, you bought my book, didn't you, Virtual Medicine, and introduced your hubby to it. So you got to read this book, and that's how we met and all became fast friends. Rob, you joined the team as a youngster, but of course you're getting older every year, as the rest of us are. And I would now say an increasingly mature member of the team. We all lean heavily on you because you seem to understand technology and stuff. And if I don't know, I'll ask you the question now. Tell us about yourself just a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been, well, obviously being Laurie's son, I've been in this for a long time. It's been a part of my life. It's been a part of my own personal healing journey as well. And I got into this when I was 18, I started working in the business, and I'm 33 now.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh
Gosh.
goodness. So I've been involved for a long time, but as a therapist, I'm a board certified holistic health practitioner, and I'm working on my PhD and my DNM right now, which is a lot of work, but it's fun stuff. I'm learning lots of new things, and of course, focusing primarily on microcurrent and helping people all around the world get out of pain.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you're going to be teaching your tutors some things as well as them teaching you. I hope. Anyway, welcome everybody. So we got started on the webinar. This is Dr. Keith and my two very good friends are being experts on microcurrent therapy, Rob and Laurie, and they've introduced themselves. So that's the team. What are we going to be talking about? Excuse me. Well, we want to make you a promise, you know, that by the end of this, we want to introduce you to something at the end. So with your permission, you know, if we can share what we know and all those good things, then we'd like to explain to you what something we can do for you at the end. And if you just wait till the end, we'll explain to you what the possibilities are, how you can join in other words. We're going to be talking about a simple and not at all expensive device, brilliant in its own right, but as part of this bigger structure we call microcurrent therapy. And by the end, we want you to understand how it works, why it works, what we do. We're particularly interested in pain, relieving pain, but any sort of chronic disease always has an inflammatory element. So we're going to be talking very intently about inflammation, as you'll see. Okay, do you want to take this one, Laurie? Take over from me now a little bit.
Do you want to do this one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Either of you, I don't mind who does it, but
this is sort of the general common stuff that we're taught as we grow up outside of holistic medicine, right? Is that there is either no answer to our problem or there is a chemical answer to our problem. So what we end up being taught is that if you suffer from chronic pain, illness, or disease, you either need to take drugs, you need surgical intervention, or you have absolutely no hope. And quite frankly, they tend to refer people. Yeah.
Sometimes all three. Yeah. This myth about pills, you know, pills for it only came in my career. You know, I mean, when I went to med school in 1963, and chemicals had only just arrived, and we hadn't reached the stage of pills for everything. It took over within 10 years, and now that's all they think about. New drug, you know, there's an illness, figure it out. Let's get a drug. But they don't solve it, do they, Laurie? Do you want to tell us about, you know, let's do the red light on the dashboard story, please?
Yeah, that's probably mask the problem anyway. And John has this story where, you know, you can go into a garage, your car's failing, you walk into or you drive into a garage and you say that, you know, I have a problem, I've got the red light come up on my dashboard. And they say, well, we can do two things. We can either just cut the cord, you know, cut the wire, or, you know, we can have it here for X amount of days and repair the actual car. So, I mean, what options do you have really?
Yeah. And it's like that concept of like just covering up the light too, right? Like when you got
Yeah,
someone
just stick chewing gum on it, yeah. But it falls off, then you have to stick more chewing gum on. It'll go on forever if you're not actually solving the problem. And this is the big failing now of orthodox medicine. They're not interested in solving the problem. Why? Because they make squillions of dollars not solving the problem. So why would you solve it if you can make so much money not solving it? What they want is patients for life who will just go on buying and buying and buying. And that's the model, isn't it? Whenever anyone goes to the doctor, there are very few things where you get pills for 4 or 5 days or a week and he says, come back and we'll see if you're cured. Almost everything is like they put you on a permanent medication. They'll warn you, you know, this is for life. Like, you know, like diabetes. Oh, you need to be on some drug for life. We'll do our best to, you know, to manage it and keep it going. But they're not managing it in the sense that we three are meaning it. Manage means fix the damn thing, repair sorry, sweet. Go on.
It's not quality of life anyway. Just add one pill after another.
Yeah. And in the car model, that just means you're driving around a clapped out car, groaning and banging and breaking down every street corner for the rest of the days of that doesn't make sense. You want a nice smooth drive, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So next one, somebody.
Yeah. And this is what pills tend to do, right? They will lessen the pain and discomfort, but ultimately they're going to shorten your lifespan. they're totally numbing your body to the existence of a problem that needs to be fixed. And the side effects are numerous. They may tell you one or two of them if you ask, but they're not going to tell you the list of 50 to 60 side effects that you could experience.
Usually ends up with death.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the last word, yeah, up to and including death.
Yeah.
That's a fairly serious side effect. However, it's a good cure. It means the problem's gone away, but it doesn't do you any good. And actually, it doesn't do them any good because they don't make any more money out of you. So all in all, just a very dumb solution. We've got better, otherwise we wouldn't be here talking to you. Oh yeah, and this surgery thing, you know, I love this graphic that we've had for a few years now, haven't we? Surgery is the only option. Very expensive quick fix, and often it's not a fix. I don't want to cast aspersions at any one group of, you know, surgeons and doctors, but my experience living in the States is very unimpressive. You know, the people I met that died under an anesthetic, or they had an operation but their pain's worse than ever, or they've had 14 operations and it still hasn't cured the problem caused by the first operation. You would wonder why anyone would opt for the surgical option, really. I mean, surgery, as it should be, is a lifesaver. You know, you whip out somebody's appendix before they get widespread appendicitis, peritonitis. You can justify that, but operating on somebody's spine, which will never ever go back to being natural again, it's kind of vandalism, isn't it? So I'm not. It's funny because, you know, I was at medical school, I was really good and I knew my anatomy cold. I knew Gray's Anatomy inside out. I could have written it. And I always thought I'd be a good surgeon, but I jumped the fence long before that ever happened and ended up as a holistic doctor. So their surgery is not the good option. Oh, well, this is just repeating what we said, I suppose. But, you know, surgery itself is a problem. So you've got to recover from the surgery as well as recover from the disease. And as I said, some people just don't recover from the surgery. Lots of sad stories. I mean, sometimes some people have had 30, 40, 50 operations on a problem and it still isn't working. Well,
It's doing the same thing, hoping for a different result.
Yeah.
yes, it's a version of that madness, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this nothing we can do story, Laurie. We've all heard this, I guess.
This is the simple, what you know, this is what happens, right? You'll turn around in the end and someone says, look, there's nothing we can do, right? You get sent home and you're still in pain. And this sometimes happens at the beginning, but I've seen a lot of people recently, and I guess over time, that it's just the end result after they've destroyed you with medications and all of these things, and then you're still in pain and they say, sorry, okay, there's nothing we can do. And it's a terrible thing to hear, because it's
very, I mean, it just really ruins them, doesn't it? It just destroys their mentality. It destroys their emotional state. It's an overall thing. It's not just the physical. It's always the mental and the emotional as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So destructive. There is nothing we can do. You know, go home, live with it.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, a problem like chronic pain is they say, oh, well, you're depressed. As if that were the cause of the problem. But you know, that if you've had 25 years of pain and nobody can fix it, I think I'd be depressed, wouldn't you? I'd be depressed as hell. Felt let down by doctors and the medical profession and science. So it's more likely a cause of depression and a psychiatric disorder than actually a result of, which is what they try and lean on in the air. Well, we've done everything. It's all in your mind. I've heard that story so many times. We wouldn't be saying all this, folks, if we didn't have something better to offer. You know, we can do something. You don't have to accept that. The point about this story, and as Laurie rightly says, it's very depressing to be told that, is that it's not true. Any problem can be solved. In fact, I have a saying for life and philosophy: you can open any door if you can only find the right key. But if you haven't got the key, the door's closed to you forever. But, you know, curing disease for is just another door. So you have to find the right key. And for most medical conditions, the way the doctors try and achieve it these days is just not the right key. It can't work. There are non-medical, non-drug, non-surgical interventions, and we're going to talk to you about one. How does it work? Why does it work? Laurie, take over with this slide, would you? Oh, well, either of you, but come on, Laurie, I want you to join in. I know you're sweet and a bit shy and retiring. You're not that damn shy and retiring. I know you. Come on, step up.
We're having a little bit of time before the slides pop up, so it takes us a little while to orient us to what we're talking about.
Oh, I see. Okay. Of course, it pops up instantly for me, but then 6,000 miles away. No, you're more than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Travel. So this is the concept. This is the big question that we're always asking people, right? If our body is designed to heal, which biologically it is, why isn't it healing?
We have our own internal pharmacy. We should be able to draw on that, but we just don't, do we?
Yeah.
I think we've lost the capability, really. We need to find a way back.
Yeah, there's something, blocking that, right? Capability of naturally healing, because when you're young and you get injured or you get sick, you get better. Your body just repairs itself over time.
And quite quickly.
And quite quickly.
Yes.
And then as age, this starts to diminish. And then we just sort of accept the fact that, oh, we're old, so we're not healing now. And that's just
almost
not
as
true.
though that's a rite of passage to be old.
Yeah.
It's not right.
It's not right. It's totally wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah, nature. I have a saying, that doctors don't cure anything. They can't heal anything. It's nature that heals. The best a doctor can do is set the stage, or if you're no good, then the best you can do is get out the way, and nature will. Nature will deal with it. And often treatments are actually getting in the way of the healing process, because in the end, virtually every drug works on the model of poisoning something in the system. If you want a painkiller, you're poisoning out part of the nervous system that feels pain. Well, poisoning things it doesn't make sense. It's best to get rid of the pain, and that means getting rid of the inflammation, as we're saying. Talk to us about inflammation. Rob, you're good at this one, I know. Go for it.
This is John's one. Yeah, I mean, over 80%, if not all, chronic disease, illness, and pain is the result of inflammation. So it is at the root of everything. So when we talked at the beginning about what's the reason that we're not healing, it's inflammation. And when we look at inflammation as sort of like a body wrecking event that sticks around, it blocks electrical communication, it causes us pain and discomfort, then we know why we're looking for this solution. We need to remove inflammation in order to fix the issue. And I think that's true of almost every disease.
Yeah. And what little works in the way of, for example, pain-killing drugs, in the medicine, for example, these are actually anti-inflammatories, which is why they work. It's just that it doesn't last. So it's better to get a lasting solution to inflammation.
And it doesn't resolve, does it? So
no.
Resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want a proper result. Yeah, this is a good metaphor, actually, to see drugs as a mask. You can't see what's going on. You get the apparency of a happy result, but it's not. And I think that's probably important, don't you, too, that patients feel more comfortable, so they assume it's okay. But in fact, the degenerative process is going on anyway. It doesn't stop that, because it's not aimed at that. For example, diabetes, if you're taking the diabetes cure, you've got your A1C where it should be. Oh, good. But no, it's not good, because the disease process is still running its course. The inflammation and rot is still happening, even though you've been made to feel comfortable or not notice so much of a problem. And that's the trouble with. I have another saying. Well, I'm full of sayings, as you know, but one of them is that my definition of a cure. I think I've shared this with you before. A cure means no symptoms, no treatment. Think about that. That's a cure. No symptoms, no treatment. If you're having treatment every day, it's not a cure. It's, you might feel comfortable, but no symptoms, but it's not a cure. It means no symptoms and no treatment. That means it's gone, it's done, it's finished, nature's fixed it. You walk away, end. That's the real definition of a cure.
Yeah.
And not many doctors can work on that definition. All right. So why aren't we healing? Well, we said this before, but let's say it again, right? The inflammation is one of the most striking things that stands in the way. Which of you wants to do a bit of inflammation physiology? John would step up with, heat, redness, pain, dolor, rubor, tumor, and calor, as all medical students learned. Do you remember those, or do you want me to run over what those are?
Yeah, it's redness, heat, swelling, pain, and loss of function, right?
Yes.
Those
In
symptoms.
fancy Latin.
And
Yes.
yeah, fancy Latin name. So inflammation is, very, very old. It's as old as time. And so essentially, we've always been experiencing this. This is a health phenomenon that's never changed. The methods we choose to use to deal with it are different. Back in ancient Egypt, they would grab electrical eels and they would electrocute people on the banks of the Nile to get rid of their pain and inflammation. And then somewhere along the line, we started chemical nuking of the body to shut down the inflammation and everything else. And when I like to talk about inflammation with clients. If you imagine your body as a house, it would be like me walking into my bedroom and seeing a fire on my bed and thinking, and then closing the door. Closing the door is taking that medication, right? It's you're masking it, you're ignoring it, but it's still burning in that room. We need to shut off that inflammation. If we ignore it, it's just going to get worse and worse. And as you said earlier, it's going to destroy everything around it as well. That's hard to come back.
Yeah. No, so another great metaphor apart from the car, the red light and the dashboard. Yeah. Okay. So moving on. Having looked at what the problem is, then the answer is going to be obvious, isn't it? Fix what the problem is instead of fixing the symptom that results from the problem. Yeah. I interrupted you, Rob, did I?
Sorry. Yeah. Someone just mentioned in chat that your volume is really low and they're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, okay. I am so sorry. It may not be everybody, of course, but let me see where. Oh, Lordy. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now? I should think.
Yeah.
Is that different?
Oh, louder, yeah.
I must have leaned on the volume knob on my, it's on my handset. And if I accidentally lean on it, in fact, it can go into mute without me knowing. So thank you for the alert. And I apologize profusely. And for those of you who are patiently listening to the recording, I apologize too. I'm really sorry. As I said, it's usually a wrestling match every time I sit down and do a webinar, and I usually win. But anyway, is that the next slide? Did I just flick it by mistake? Yes, I did. Yeah, just flicked it. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway,
it's so pretty obvious answer, right? I mean, inflammation is the issue.
Yeah. Okay. And so next, so how can well, first of all, we should say what microcurrent therapy is and why it's not things like TENS and PEMF. I keep getting asked these questions, every week there are emails pour in and, oh, this is just TENS, isn't it? And it's not at all. Explain the difference.
Yeah, so a TENS device is usually you can buy those in a drugstore. They are about 1,000 times stronger than our highest frequency. And their goal is essentially paralyze the nerves with electricity so you don't feel pain. Typically, this lasts while the TENS device is on. And then once you take it off, the pain will start to come back pretty quickly. And I think the long-term damage that you can do with these is a little scary. I also don't like the fact that a lot of their warnings, essentially, they're like, use them on your arms and legs, but don't use them on your torso, your throat, your neck, your head, your back. It's too strong. It's too dangerous. And
they're not body friendly, are they?
They're not body friendly either. No, right. They're too high a frequency to actually be working with the body and helping them out.
No, it pains me it's true. It pains me to say all this because my dear friend Norman Shealy, says he invented TENS. He's very proud of it, but I cringe a little bit. I love him to bits, but I don't think it's the ideal technology. In biology, you want to be as close to nature's signal as possible, which means very faint. But nature can tune into the tiniest. Listen, a bird can fly from the North Pole to the South Pole, tuning into tiny little, magnetic vibrations that are in the air. Biology works like that. And as soon as you start slap banging it with intense current or it's another version, isn't it, of the medical orthodox mistake. Some is good, therefore more is better. And that's just simply not true. If one aspirin is good, it's not better to take 25 aspirins. You'll likely die. It's bad news, in fact. Yeah. So not a TENS device. That's way over in terms of electrical power and thrust. And as Rob was saying, it's slight, potentially damaging, that you don't feel the pain anymore because your nerve has been battered, and so it doesn't transmit pain messages anymore. That's not what we want. What is PEMF? There's PEME,
So
and there's PEMF is pulsed electromagnetic frequency. There's PEME, which is pulsed electromagnetic energy. Are there any other versions of that term? Anyway, that's
I
fine. Go
think
ahead. But tell us what that
main one,
means. Pulsed is the
yeah,
important thing, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. So pulse is the important thing, and an electromagnetic frequency would be something like you would get out of your microwave, is the energy it's giving off. A pulsed electromagnetic field or frequency is typically a body-friendly energy wave that is invisible. You don't feel it, and it is typically low enough of a frequency that it saturates all the cells in your body, and so it sort of treats an area statically. Most commercial PEMF mats are whole body. So just like when you take medications and it affects your whole body, the PEMF mat is affecting your whole body, which is not necessarily good for directing a healing process. It's what signal do you listen to? And what does the brain prefer to listen to? It also doesn't have the ability to travel. So if it is a localized field, so if I'm treating my hand with a small generator, those frequencies don't latch on the nerves and shoot up my arm. They stay in the area I'm treating. And this is the difference with microcurrent here, is where you're actually feeling it through the skin. It can get deep into the body, and it will also travel along nerves such as the vagus nerve, and across the soft tissues to resolve the area you're treating. So it can
Right.
be a body effect, but only working on the problems.
Right. So we'll be making that clear as we go along, how we tune into specific areas. But I consider that one of the most important things, Rob. Like as you said, drugs is just flooding the whole body with potentially dangerous stuff, and PEMF, the same, just generalized electromagnetic frequencies, which, on occasion hit the right spot at the right time. And so, you get a good result, but it's not the ideal way to do things. Listen, I just had a signal that somebody's raised their hand. I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning. Please excuse me saying it, which is that we don't want to do questions and discussions. We want to go through the presentation. We've got a message to raise at the end. And then when we've done that, we'll deal with all of your questions, I promise. If there's something you want to complain about, like I've gone completely muted, or you can't see this, please put that in chat or in the Q&A, but put it in the chat or something. But I'm not going to derail the conversation. Okay. All right. So now we've done TENS, we've done PMF. What's different about microcurrent apart from being very lightweight, which is its name suggests? Explain what exactly that is and why it's different.
Yeah, so microcurrent is totally body-friendly electrical signals. And the way I like to describe it is it's like giving you control over your body's natural ability to heal. When your brain signals an area of the body to heal something or to shut off inflammation, it sends an electrical signal at a specific frequency. So if you're looking to heal bone, for example, we know that 7 hertz is the preferred frequency. With these devices, what we do is we use those same frequencies. We input them through the skin, and that tricks the brain into thinking it sent that signal. So the brain and the body work on the healing process and enhancing healing. So this is why we can do things such as shut off inflammation and start to repair the body with these devices, because we're using the body's own capability to heal. We're not artificially trying to change it.
Right. Well, I mean, you mentioned bones, for example. Healing, but bone healing and fractures is one of the things that these are absolutely brilliant at. I mean, I've seen healing time, they call it union and then complete healing of the bones, one's half the time of the other. But I've seen it less than a third of the time that you would expect the bone healing process to take place after a fracture. Using this kind of approach, it really is quite amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Laurie, can
I
we
said
share?
that we're frequency. So it's easy for the brain to do it because that's what the brain needed. That's what the body needed. That's what the bone needed. So by using these devices and setting them at that frequency, we're actually just enhancing what the brain is capable of doing.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to put the next slide on, and I want you to talk about it because I want to go and see what these two hand raises were, whether there's actually a problem. Oh, look! Let's just go through them again. We could have done it slide by slide. Rob, you put the slides together. Why didn't you remind me? Anyway, let's go and see what's in chat. See if there's any real technical issues. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the hand raising, like I explained, we will deal with it, but not just now. Okay, good. Anything now that we've not already said? I think we have actually, haven't we?
I think we've said most of these things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Memory.
And even this bit, yeah. Well, I suppose we could do a bit of the practical stuff, like the frequency machines are very bulky and require a lot more technology. The microchip. I mean, I usually have it on my desk. Have you got one to show us? I mean, it literally is like a hospital that you could hold in your hand. It's teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Like so.
Nice
It's a TV remote size, or even smaller than some TV remotes, actually. Show us the electrode side while we're at it, Rob. We might as well just, I think it comes up later, doesn't it? But that's just two electrodes, one going in and one coming out of the body. So you get a circuit and you get this dialogue going with the body. It's a dialogue with the brain, actually. I think we've got a slide that says that somewhere. It's like, ting-a-ling, dial up the brain. And the brain will actually tell you when it's got the message, and it will also know what to do. And when it's given the dose, it goes ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you know that your person's had the dose. I mean, it's just brilliant what you can do with electronics that you can't do with just power and force. So amazing. So it is literally that, I suppose. Like, it's a good graphic, this, by the way, but like, flipping the switch on inflammation. With that out of the way, then we can move into deeper healing, can't we? More serious things can come to the surface.
Exactly.
And there are other things we can do. Are we talking about scars? I think we are. Scars before. Yeah, okay, we'll come to that then. Good. So explain this, either of you or both of you. Between you, please. We talked about this, dialing up the brain, saying hello. The brain knows what's going on. You get a connection, and it literally is the connection. The brain feeds back so that the device will go ting-a-ling-a-ling. That's the dose. And you know what's happening in the meantime. Numbers are clicking and changing as the brain and the body interact. And so when you get to certain numbers and certain, then you know the process has been effective. It's amazingly useful. Okay, folks, my internet connection has gone unstable, which might mean I freeze, but keep talking, you two. And I hope I don't freeze, but I've just had a little signal.
So yeah, just as you were saying, Keith, the ability to have the devices talk with the body and actually send up that signal. I always like to liken it to like sending up a flare for help. You can send up the flare, and then when you get that second ding-a-ling-a-ling, you know that the brain has responded and the circuit has been completed. So the other plus side is that because these devices are high voltage, they can actually get very deep into the body. So even if you were dealing with like a deep
no, they're not high voltage. Yeah, I think the slip of the tongue, Rob. They're not high voltage.
So they're not high
frequencies. They're penetrating. Yeah. The signal strength is very penetrating, but don't scare everybody that it's going to go bzz and zap them when they put it on their skin. You don't feel anything, or very, very little.
Little light tickle more than anything else. And it's always set to a comfortable level for people, right?
Yeah.
And so, this triggers a response from the brain acknowledges the problem, and then the body and the brain work in tandem and they fix the issue. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I hope you guys are tuned in. Gosh, there's more people jumping on all the time. Those of you who missed the beginning, and it's really very interesting all the way through. There will be a recording posted, so you can go back and watch the beginning part that you missed. Because this is fascinating stuff. This really is the medicine of the future. We're into computers, smartphones, and then it's clunk click like a dagger or a scalpel. That's very clunky and clumsy compared to using it's like slapping somebody around the head saying, Listen to me. Don't you understand what I'm telling you? Bang, bang. Compared to typing in a SMS message and the person reads it. Oh, I get it. It's, the difference is, we'll have to work that into the next slideshow, Rob.
Yeah.
So we have this wonderful technology, and as it says here, it's been called a hospital in your home, because that's how small it is. It's tiny, and yet can, well, let's rattle some more. We do have a list of diseases later, don't we? But let's just reinforce the point here. You know, psychological disorders, fractures, viral infections, pain, you know, bad knees, regional pain syndrome. There's so many things that we can deal with this one simple device. I mean, I don't want to paint the picture of a miracle, you know, it cures baldness and cures erectile dysfunction. I'm not saying that, but, you know, it has a very, very wide diversity of impact, because it's hitting at the core of biology, which is our electrical signaling system, which is really what our body and biology is based on. It's not based on chemicals and enzymes and, you know, biochemistry, obsessed with biochemistry. And that's why scientists are trying to take it down into smaller and smaller pieces, and they've got down to electrons and parts of electrons. No, you need to put it all back together. It's a whole, but the whole is orchestrated by electricity, right? It's like music. There is a conductor conducting and getting a beautiful tune. That conductor is electromagnetic. Okay, one in every home. I recognize some of my slogan cliches here. Why would come on, Laurie, join in, please, sweetheart. Why would we need one in every home? I mean,
well, so that we don't use pills, so we can get rid of inflammation, so that we can stop degenerating. It saves on costs, and really one in every home. It has to be, everyone has to have one. We used to say, I remember saying to Dr. Oz once, actually, something about we need one in every home, like a roll of toilet paper.
Yes.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a rude joke there somewhere, but I can't come up with it. I do know I came up with the phrase, didn't I? Every home should have one, because it was based on a very silly movie I saw back in the 60s, starring one of those, I can't remember, one of those girls, those blonde Swedish girls. Who's the one that married Peter Sellers? Britt Eklund. I think it was Britt Eklund starring in him. And anyway, the point is, it was about Marty Feldman was in it. The point is, it was an au pair girl. That's what they meant. Every home should have an au pair girl. Fun for the husband, strife for the wife. And the phrase stuck in my mind, but it was actually the title of a movie. And this really fills the bill, not a blonde Swedish girl, but a microcurrent healing device. That's what every home should have. Oh, yes, here's some. Go on, rattle them off.
Yeah.
Take it in turns, yeah.
Well, all of the ones I say, you see the big and more at the bottom.
Yes.
But kind of itis is inflammation. So arthritis, prostatitis, diverticulitis, these can all be addressed with microcurrent. We can also work, as we mentioned, on fractures. It's a phenomenal working on wounds, even non-healing diabetic wounds. Endometriosis, ulcerative colitis, again, another itis. Lyme disease, autoimmune disease in general, even menstrual cramps, you name it, there's probably something we can do to help with it.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk a bit later about what I christened the hot pelvis, you know, women's problems like inflammation and, you know, bad things going on down there below the belly button. And a lot of women suffer, of course, but it's nice to know there's a simple, non-invasive way of dealing with that, isn't it? So, and then there's more, the psychological things, you know, it's exciting for depression. It innovates people. And well, of course, depression is inflammation. I don't know if you know that story. It's as simple as that. Inflammation equals depression. Depression equals inflammation. You know, that if you get one, you get the other, period. Yeah, okay, get off the soapbox, doctor. Yeah, keep going. Now, for very good scientific reasons, we start by treating scars. And it's the thing I keep forgetting, you know, I've got to tell you, I'm not expert like you guys, but when I do a session, I get to the end, yeah, good result. I think, oh, damn, I forgot to do the scars. Why should we be doing the scars?
Yeah.
Because they're an electrical buildup, so that they actually block the signals. Sometimes, not all the time, but it's worth doing scars first. If you can always remember to do scars first and go through the whole body. So you might have even internal scars. Think about those tattoos. That's another scar. sort
Right.
of
And if
just
you've had a tooth pulled, that's kind of a scar, isn't it? In the gum line. Yeah. Yeah.
and they are electrical build-up blockages. So we would really want to clear them so that signals can all get through as they need to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people don't think about things like even whiplash and stuff, that healing from that is going to create
It's
some
a
scar
scar.
tissue. So they think if I haven't been cut, I have no scars. But often that is not true. Scars are a part of life. But if we unblock them, then that communication can restore, and then the brain is going to be capable of healing things.
Yeah. I mean, even think about women have a baby, that's a scar. The
Yeah.
scars
Yes.
there.
Yes.
So there's so many things that we just don't think about. I mean, I've had people with whiplash, and I've also had the seatbelt across.
The pressure from the accident. Yeah.
And that's really has caused an internal scar. We have to clear that too. So anything that you can think of that could have been a scar, you deal with first if you can, because
Right.
then you just have like a clean body to work with.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
And
I mean, you
scars
could even, sorry, you first.
Yeah.
Scars can also create pain. And we've been working with a lot of women recently that have abdominal adhesions from multiple C-sections. And the amount of pain that they can be in just turning to the left or the right as the scar tissue pulls is massive. But by working on those scars, we can even eventually work to break them up and free them and restore normal tissue.
Even after the first treatment with the scar, it usually softens.
Yeah.
And you can see a difference in the size of the scar, in the fact that it gets cleaner.
And I think we have a before and after, don't we? Next
Have we?
slide.
Let's go for that. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you can see it's very crinkled and creased on the left. But this was just one treatment, wasn't it? I mean, if you keep going, it'll, we can't say disappear, but we can say it's nowhere near as evident, is it? We're not doing it for cosmetics, but there's a very good cosmetic benefit. We're doing it for electrical benefit. I mean, John's not here, but it basically works like an electrical capacitor, which is two plates insulated from each other. That, in other words, either side of the scar. And you can build up a huge current charge between the two, often as much as 1 or 2 volts, not millivolts. That's enough to light up a small torch bulb. It's there can be very significant currents going on like that, and it's all very detrimental biologically, because the body wants to work on millivolts and microamps, very low currents, and if you're near the brain, like if you've got tonsillitis, for example, that can be terribly scarring, but it's only like yay far from the brain, so it can be very important. Okay, so we're back to inflammation. The second rule of microcurrent, this should be in bold really, is to treat inflammation. We have to go there next if we're going to get any kind of result.
Yeah, if you don't treat inflammation, you can't heal. It's blocking the repair process from the body from moving on in the repair process. So once you've dealt with scars, you typically move on to inflammation. And you can treat that either locally, like across the skin, or you can treat it through systemic treatments like vagus nerve and other things.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, great. Yeah. Now, let me just make the people still coming on, which is great. I love it. I love the enthusiasm. Don't know why you're late, but you're late. There will be a recording posted, and you can catch up with the bits you missed, the beginning bits, which have all been very fascinating, I think. And then go through the whole cycle again. So welcome. But I do make the point frequently that we don't want to take questions or interruptions as we go along. Let's just get through this, and then if we haven't answered your question, we will at the end. I mean, generally speaking, everything's different, but we usually do at least an hour of Q&A at the end. It's been as long as 90 minutes, hasn't it? People just bombarding us with questions. We promise to answer them. We'll answer every question except rude ones. But just please leave it till the end, and let's just finish what we're saying. Okay, so the power, the importance of inflammation. Right, now, Laurie, maybe you take this on for us. Trigger points. I mean, in a nutshell, it means that the problem isn't where you feel the pain. Yes.
A lot of people feel that where they feel the pain is where they have to work, and so they'll work on that area, and it just doesn't really resolve it, or it'll take it away for a short while, but then it'll come back. So then we always look for trigger points, and we have charts that guide everyone on these all the time. So we work the trigger point, and it resolves the issue. So it's something that we never used to do, but it's something now that we do all the time. All of
Yeah.
our books have all
All
the
of them.
trigger charts.
Yeah, because the goal is that we give people that power to self-treat, right? This is supposed to be, as you say, a hospital in your hands. So if this picture, this is one of the trigger charts, if you see that the redness there indicating pain on the hand, and you treat the hand and it keeps coming back, then you look for the black X, which is showing that trigger point on the inside of the arm as being a referral point for that thumb. And by treating that trigger point, you can often unblock the pain and fix the issue.
Right. Now, a point to make, this is not necessarily a fixed point. I mean, there are fixed points that are very helpful, but the device, am I right, will help you find the hot spot. You sort of walk along the skin and it gives a, you know, this is the spot, you know, there's a very obvious reading that will tell you here, this is where you should work. And we often find, as you say, it's not where the pain is felt, but it's where the pain is coming from.
Yes.
In medicine, we sometimes call that referred pain. You know, somebody might have a bad knee and it hurts, but the actual problem is in the hip. The hip is a bit inflamed,
Yeah.
ever so slightly, and a thousandth of an inch out of true, but that throws the knee out of true. And the knee sort of wears a bit unevenly and it hurts. So anyway, the great thing, as I said, well, we're talking about a specific device. It's called the Avazzia, and that's just a commercial name. It's a brilliant model. We used to do Russian machines. The Skanar I made famous in the 90s, and Rob and Laurie and husband John were by far the world's most famous Skanarists. But we've moved on now. The Russians had some brilliant ideas. They founded this therapy, and we love it, you know, and I wrote about it. I called it sort of Star Trek medicine, you know, a little thing in your hand that could not quite grow a new hand, but you know, or a new arm, but would help you. But we've moved on now. We have American manufacturing quality. The people that make these, am I right again? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand it. They're the digital whiz kids that made Texas Instruments. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were like real. I mean, Texas was the business 20 years ago. They were digital whiz kids, and they've come up with, they help. Most of the input with these devices has come from John and Laurie. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I understand that they built it around your expertise. I mean, other people can use it, put their own labels on it and use it, but basically what's in the machine you created anyway. But tonight we're specifically talking of, well, the smaller one, but there's a middle one as well that's entirely designed by you. Nobody else has it. It's a unique machine that does what you instruct it to do, because you know what to do. You're the whiz kids that know all about this, yeah? But American build quality, and they're very good, aren't they? I mean, they stand by their machines. If there's something wrong, just send it back. They don't make a fuss, you know, they just want everybody happy and everybody healing away like great. Right, now, what about regeneration? That's stem cells, and that's a thing we hear a lot about these days, you know, regrowth, regenerating bad tissues.
Yeah.
The old medical story was when it's busted, you were screwed. That was that. You know, you lose a brain cell, you never get it back. It's all complete utter baloney. I don't know if they can stand up and claim this is science. I mean, it's only about 20 years ago somebody caught brain cells actually dividing. Even though it can't happen, science says it doesn't happen. There it is. They got it on a photograph. There's a brain cell device. All of this hogwash. The truth is nature can heal anything. Nature heals. If you break a leg, it'll knit. If you cut yourself, even badly, you know, you have to hold the sides together a few stitches, but it'll soon heal, take the stitches out, and it doesn't fall open again 2 years later. It's healed, and that's what nature does so brilliantly. So, I just realized I answered my own question, but anyway, go on, a bit of input from, I'm quite passionate, as you can see. This is all about working with nature instead of conflicting nature, as surgeons do, and as drug poisons and therapies do. And even some of the holistic things, you know, it could be done better, like TENS is way over the top with the amount of current and voltage.
Well, we find that we need to have we remove inflammation, like we mentioned before, and then we can actually trigger regeneration. So a good example of this is arthritis, right? As the inflammation is persistent in the joints, sometimes that inflammation will eventually leave, but the joints are absolutely destroyed. Now, this can leave people with hands they can't use. And what we've seen is that as long as the inflammation's out of the way, we can encourage repair, even if it's like almost entirely destroyed. And we're using low frequencies to do repair and higher frequencies to do inflammation. And so we kind of have to switch between the two. So the device we're talking about tonight has some, it has a broad spectrum regenerative programming that works on regenerating all kinds of tissues. It's not super specific, but it works on loads of things, from healing a wound to fixing bones to dealing with joint damage or tendon damage. It has that kind of broad spectrum capability.
Right, and let's make the point, the machine, the device has the setting, it's a simple setting. You turn to that setting and it'll switch into regeneration mode and will help the body in the process of recovery. Obviously, you've got a completely trashed rheumatic joint. It's not going to go back to a perfect hand like you're a 20-year-old, but, to go back to a functional hand, that's what counts, isn't it? It's functional. You can play the piano. No, I forgot the joke. Anyway, there's somebody's had an operation. That's right. And the patient says to the surgeon, will I be able to play the piano afterwards? And the surgeon says, yes, I think so. The patient said, well, that's amazing because I couldn't play the piano before. Anyway, so brain and pain. Ultimately, pain is the number one reason people go to the doctors. As it's a very broad generic, but it's basically the number one reason that people need help. So tell us what to do, why microcurrent is the way to go.
So yeah, pain is a warning signal that something's wrong. It doesn't matter where that pain manifests. It's kind of telling us, hey, we need to do something. And ultimately, chronic pain is sort of the result of a pain signal that has not been switched off. So usually that pain response, if I were to touch a hot stove and it hurts, I back up and the pain signal will fade. But with chronic pain, it persists. And because of the biofeedback capabilities, we talked about the dosing and zeroing earlier, where we can signal the brain into the healing equation. We are actually able to talk to the brain and ask it to switch those signals off. So in the case of chronic issues that are not shutting off, we can dial in, call the brain and say, hey, can you turn this off for us, please? And we'll get that signal back that, yeah, okay.
Yeah, much more subtle than it's either on or it's off with healing mats and things like that. It is, just as Rob was saying, in fact, we put this metaphor in of the phone, ting-a-ling-a-ling, call up the brain, intelligible signals that are like the way the brain works. It works on microcurrent, very low currency. Those are the biological effects that are the most noticeable. If you turn it, if you turn up the volume, you don't get better results, you get worse results. It will poison out the system. That's what's it called, the Arn-Schultz law, isn't it? Okay, now the number one, and this was, by the way, this was great. This was in Scientific American in January, was it January? Anyway, 2015, front page cover. Vagus nerve stimulation, medicine of the future. Is this, and it said this may be the answer to diabetes, arthritis, even cancer. And they actually used those words on the front cover of Scientific American, even cancer. That's how excited people were. Well, of course, the pharmaceutical industries jumped on it, and they're going to implant little devices that will cost 20, 30, 50,000. They have to keep replacing them. You don't need that. We can do it. It's called vagus nerve stimulation. Yay.
And vagus nerve stimulation has become our number one treatment for pretty much any pain condition, anything chronic pain, autoimmune disease. And you're right, like typically the medical answer is, this is great. Let's cut open your neck, stick something in there, and then we'll put a battery there and you'll have to replace that every 5 years.
You've also got a lot of scarring.
You've got a lot of scarring.
Which is very counterproductive, as we've been saying. Yeah.
And so with what we're doing is we're taking something like this probe here, which the Y probe, and we're going onto the neck here.
Yeah,
and
move it slowly, Rob. Put it nearer the screen and move it slow. So it's 2 electrodes on balls like that, and then you can apply it to your skin. Yeah. It's one ball is current in and one ball is current out.
And you can see in that picture there where the vagus nerve kind of travels and how much of the body it covers, especially on the left side there. It's going through your entire digestive system. And as you mentioned, Keith, in quite a few of your articles, how critical the gut is in the whole body health perspective.
Right.
And so we can tune down inflammation in the gut and the brain and everything in between by going in here on the neck, placing the electrode on the skin, and stimulating the vagus nerve with the right frequencies. And that's very key. I don't want someone to think I'm going to go use my TENS unit on my vagus nerve, because
Oh, please. Oh, no. Probably stop your heart if you're not careful. Yeah.
people that have done that. So we always mention it, like, make sure you're using it properly, the right equipment, because it's unsafe to do it with the wrong stuff. But it's a very effective treatment at shutting off that inflammatory response.
And people do it 3 to 4 times a day.
Yeah, for just a couple of minutes. So it's about 10 minutes a day worth of treatment.
And that's to start with until you have the control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'd never heard that before, so thanks for sharing that with me, you know, that you repeat it several times during the day. Now, the question we also get asked, what are these, do these help for cancer? You know, can we cure cancer? Maybe we shouldn't treat cancer, people who've got cancer with these devices. It could set the cancer growth. All of these kind of questions. Would you please set us straight between you? I want the authoritative statement. Are these safe where the patient's got cancer?
We tend not to work over the tumor or over the cancer itself, but anywhere else
is fair game. The main reason, and we've had clients do it against our device treating a cancerous area, and they've never had any problem with it. But microcurrent brings in an immense amount of new blood flow, and our fear is that treating a tumor directly could feed that tumor and help it grow. So as you hear on the slide, we talk about body-wide treatments, enhancing the immune system. We can use the biofeedback onboard pharmacy to trigger the creation of white blood cells by stimulating the bones where the blood cells are created. And this can enhance your immune response. We stimulate the vagus nerve to reduce inflammation. As you mentioned in Scientific American, vagus nerve stimulation may be the way to cure cancer, right? It's electrical cures. Inducing an alpha state is pretty much the same thing. We're doing like a brain treatment to bring people into a relaxed state, because stress can play a huge role in cancer as well. And then a new treatment that we've been doing for about 6 months now, mitochondrial recharge, is a full body electrical charge up, like topping up your cells.
Energy, topping up your energy levels.
Oh, I'll have some of that. Okay, next time I come over, please, I'll book myself in. Sounds good. Yeah. Okay, so safe within limits, and it doesn't make much sense to just slap the electrode over the cancer and think it's going to blow it away. Definitely not. We're not saying that. We're saying, strengthen and benefit your body in general terms. Okay, so as I said, I'm booking in for one of these. Find me a slot somewhere. What is it? Mitochondria. Well, first of all, you better explain what a mitochondrion is, just briefly, and then how we help.
Yeah, so mitochondria are involved in ATP, which is our adenosine triphosphate, which is our cellular energy. It's what gives us the energy to function and to heal and to do pretty much anything. It's like a currency, right? That we need to pay to function. So when they're fully charged, our cells can optimally communicate. They prevent breakdown, and they actually are very resistant to getting sick or injured or damaged. And so what we're doing here is we're doing a full body treatment. Actually, what we do them with now, we have these silver threaded gloves and socks. So you wear gloves, a pair of gloves and a pair of socks, and you connect them up to your device. And then you use a frequency that is essentially putting in a lot of pulses and a lot of energy to charge up your body from these points. And then the electricity, as I mentioned earlier, can spread up the limbs because it can travel through our tissue. And so we're working on the whole body this way. And what we found is 30 minutes of treatment, just relax while you're doing it because you're just wearing these things, can improve the body's ability to communicate with the brain. So if you're failing to get communication with the devices, because the device is just coming back and saying, nope, didn't work, your cellular energy is low. So when we do this treatment, we're able to enhance that. We found that it massively improves energy and reduces fatigue for people, which is huge. And we've improved muscle weakness in people And it seems to improve every other treatment with the device. So if you do it as a preparatory treatment, it can really help because it's priming your body for microcurrent therapy.
It's giving you the energy, the currency.
Yeah.
Listen, I go out on a limb here because, you know, I don't sell these things, but and I wouldn't say this if I did, but it seems to me that would work very well for cancer, that if you can energize your body, it's got the possibility of fighting off this monster. But most people with cancer have extremely low energies. In fact, that's part of the characteristic of the disease, isn't it? Not that they sit in the chair sleeping all the time necessarily, but their body just doesn't have the biological vitality to fight back, because that's one of the nasty things that cancer does, is it saps your biological vitality. So if you can restore that, it can only be a good thing. You know, we can't make claims for cures and treatment, but if I had a cancer, I would want to get my energy levels up and, you know, sizzle up my mitochondria and get them on my side. It sounds great. As I said, I'm having some. Now, I mentioned this before. Listen, time is moving on, so we may have to speed up a little bit. But it's great for women. What I call a hot pelvis is my term for all sorts of things that women suffer from. Infections, particularly. You know, a woman is, because of the nature of sex and penetration, is vulnerable to infections, and because really her tubes going up into the abdomen and the ovaries actually render a woman open to the outside world. Well, there's a brilliant system of control for that. Again, nature, she's on the job, she knows what she's doing. But, you know, it can be weakened and damaged, can't it? So any and all women's problems could be helped. One of the settings you mentioned is, you know, increased blood flow. That can help enormously, can it? I mean, you know, more blood flow means more nutrients, more white cells to tackle inflammation and infections and so on, and take away more toxins and so on. So very definitely worth it. Laurie, perhaps you'd be the person best to commentate on this, because I'm sure you do the women, not the men. But do they have good results with this on the whole?
For everything really, even for menopause. I mean, it helps. It's not a cure-all for menopause, but it's definitely a cure-all for menstrual cramps. It can get rid of those very easily. It gets rid of all the inflammation. It gets rid of scarring. Endometriosis is greatly helped by, there's a whole protocol for that.
Yeah.
Also prolapse and leaking, there's a vaginal attachment that can be used that will help all of that. So yeah, we have a whole set of things that will work for women's issues, a whole set of protocols, and the vaginal and just the abdominal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, in some ways better than hormonal treatments. I mean, you know, women's hormones do need adjusting, but, you know, the idea that more is better just doesn't work for women's hormones. No. So I think it's great to know that there's, and so I was going to ask you the question, is there a probe? So there is.
Yes, there is. There's
to get it deep into the pelvic tissue. Yeah. All right, now it works with animals. I've used this little picture on the right before to show that animals and doggies really love it. Laurie's the queen of this. She treats animals in all sorts of conditions. But I mean, look at the doggie's neck after the scarring and the stitching. But on the right there, you can see it's just about vanished. Marvelous. 1 week. Just 1 week.
I know.
I'm going to trot a little bit because I'm conscious of the time. People naturally commit, you know, an hour, say, to be entertained and learn something. A non-healing wound that this sustained in a nursing home. God, that's pretty ghastly. I've not seen that one before. How long between the two? Oh, 2.5 weeks. So picture on the left to the picture on the right, 2.5 weeks of microcurrent therapy. Wow, brilliant. Oh, this is skin grafting, isn't it? Who's going to explain this one?
Yeah, so this was this the horse stomped on his arm?
Yes.
That's what it was. Yeah. He had to have some tissue done, and they didn't know what they were doing with their devices very well. So they just slapped on that broad spectrum regeneration mode that we talked about. Mm-hmm. And as you can see, the speed of repairing that tissue, this was done over just a couple of days. And it was just filling it in.
Yeah, the picture on the right shows skin cells invading that mesh. That's what you're seeing, folks. Have we got another one of this? Yes, we have 2 more. So ultimately, this person made a very good healing recovery. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Amazing. just be careful what you're doing with horses. Now, this story of Velma, these are new slides to me as well. This lady was clearly in very sad distress with her arm. How did she get like this? Was it another nursing home
Yeah.
story or what?
Home story, yeah. And they just get, I think it started with some bed sores on the arm, and it just grew, and they just accept it as part of being in a nursing home.
Yeah,
and it's
terrible.
terrible.
Yeah.
So this one did a little while to heal, but we have quite a few progressive pictures here.
And it was a relative, wasn't it? That
it was a relative that brought the device into the nursing home.
Oh, good. Okay, so let's just follow these through. Oh, there she's got the hospital in her right hand. Oh, healing well. So there's no time on these, but we're talking over a matter of a week or 10 days this far, are we? Or was it quicker than that, perhaps?
This was about 14 days for this final picture we got here. And you can see all that healthy new pink tissue there.
Yeah. I mean, it's healed. I mean, I just hope they didn't lie her on her side and leave her and ignore her again. So it came back. That's a management issue, isn't it? It's not a disease process. It means the person isn't being managed carefully, and they're left with the pressure continuously on a particular part of their body. Anyway, we could go on all night with all the miracles and things. If you got questions about, will it help this? Will it help that? By all means. But we did want to tell you about a particular device. Well, I've told you about the Avazzia line, and they're American quality build. They're caring, and they stand by their machines. Their guarantees are marvelous. But there are two particularly. We wanted to talk about the Genesis. That's the one on the left. It's a very humble device, but can do most of the miracles that you've been seeing. And is what we'll come to the money in a minute. Tell us how much that one cost.
Yeah, that's one. It starts at 600, and the full big kit is 795 for the Genesis.
Okay, and the one on the right, it's called the Evolution. That's got it's about, what is it, 1200 or 1500 or?
Starts at 15, and the full kit's 1900.
Right, and that does lots more. I mean, that's it's not a full-on professional kit, but it will do so many marvelous things, won't it?
Yeah,
different frequencies. See, running diagonally down that band of lights, you've got bone healing, tendon healing, and so on. Down at the bottom left there, you've got acute inflammation, chronic inflammation. And these are easy for a person to learn to use. And in any case, we're going to back that up with certainly some free training at first, but you can learn to do some more sophisticated training too. Yeah. So let's see exactly what's on offer. So the Life Genesis is the one that I invited you to this talk about. I'm only putting the other one in case you think, well, is there anything better? Because people do, $600, gosh, not a lot of money. And by the time you've had it 5 years, it's paid for itself many times over, even in saving the cost of aspirins, I should think. What will it do? Explain, Rob. What does the Genesis do, this list on the left?
So the Genesis has been designed as a self-treatment, easy-to-use device. It can address chronic pain, reduce inflammation, which of course addresses the chronic pain. It can help with treating scar tissue, which we mentioned how important that is. So we would not create a device without that capability. It can help to re-educate damaged or atrophied muscles. It has the onboard pharmacy that we discussed, and it has that kind of broad spectrum regeneration mode that we talked about. Another feature we added into this one was the Sana cycle, which is essentially an automatic treatment mode. So if you have no idea what you're doing with the device, you never read your manual, you could turn this on, put it on Sana cycle, hold it on the body, and it's going to let you know when treatment is complete. It'll cycle through treating your scars, your inflammation, and regenerating you. And then it's going to set off kind of a very loud and obnoxious alarm that says, stop treating, we're done. And it's, you can't really get easier microcurrent than this.
It's brilliant. And this is filled with the brilliant algorithms that the Hache family have evolved. I think it's a marvel. For the price anyway, it's a marvel. But if doctors had nothing else and throw away all their pills, I think they'd heal more people. Important question, I'm sure somebody's going to ask, can you use this one for vagal nerve stimulation?
No, so this one doesn't have the really low frequencies we wanted for vagus nerve stimulation. It wasn't by choice. This one has been cleared to be able to be sold as an over-the-counter device without a prescription or medical referral. So in theory, it could end up in department stores. And due to the FDA, they won't let us use low frequencies for that. They want them to be at the higher, more commonly used frequencies.
Yeah.
So we get the opportunity to put that in.
All right, so that's another reason why you might look at this other device, the Evolution. It's a bit more expensive, but you do have this ability to do vagus nerve. You can see the graphic picture of it there. Vagus nerve stimulation. This can work for mental issues, mental health issues as well, because vagus nerve stimulation is very calming, isn't it? It puts a person into what we call parasympathetic mode. You know, sympathetic means flight and fight. You know, that sort of excitable stress react immediately, but parasympathetic is the calm and relax, sleep, eat, you know, chill out, take it easy, which is great for people with depression, high anxiety states, panic attacks and things like that. So the fact that you can use the vagal nerve stimulation might persuade some of you that, oh, I'd rather go for that one. Can I raise a tricky point? I mean, if somebody decided they'd made a mistake and wanted the more expensive one, will you help them change up?
Yeah, so we've set it up to be a stepping stone. So from the Genesis to the Evolution, they can trade them in anytime, whether it's 2 days after getting it or 2 years after getting it. It doesn't matter to us. They can contact us, and we have an upgrade price that means they don't really lose anything on their initial investment with the Genesis.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, it can't be fairer than that, really. So, I mean, both of these are well within the typical budget, I would say. Now, you mentioned FDA and so on. So, what do these flags and banners mean? The CE mark, that's a European thing.
European
We
one.
know what the FDA is. So, explain what's Health Canada and Santé Canada. What does that mean?
So Health Canada is the Canadian version of the FDA, essentially. In America, the FDA has approved these devices for pain. In Canada, they're approved for pain, muscle repair and re-education, and improved blood flow. So enhancing blood flow for hospitals. And then in Europe, if it's the CE mark, we are approved for even more. We're approved for pain, and it goes the same stuff as Canada, but also for neurofeedback, depression, anxiety, and things like that. So the question we always ask is, I suppose Europeans are different biologically than Americans, and that's why we can't do this thing. So we'll be a little tongue in cheek with that and let you just make the connection that the capabilities here and the different regulations around the world.
And what about, I got the idea that the FDA had approved the Avazzia device for sports injuries. And
Yes.
Yeah, so they put that all under pain umbrella.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to clarify that point. Because I mean, if you've got kids, for example, it's great to have one of these things in the medicine cupboard. You know, the kid falls and sprains their ankle or scuffs their knee, just whip out the Avazzia and run it over. Kid will be back playing in 15 minutes or less. So people are going to ask about guarantees. Obviously, that's an important point. If you're going to step into this, what if it's not as good as Dr. Keith is claiming, or the hashes are claiming? What if? What if? So what does this mean?
So we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. We are aware of the fact that a lot of people from overseas buy these, and the shipping times can vary. So we make that 30-day guarantee start from the day you receive your device, not the day you buy it. So that means you're not losing any time. You can contact us. It doesn't have to be returned on that 30th day. If you are choosing to return it on the 30th day, you can. You just let us know, send it back, and we will refund you with just a 15% restocking fee. So in effect, with the Genesis, it works out to be like you're renting it for a month if you don't want to keep it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's very fair. I don't think you can do any better than that, really. And how many we get returned? 3/4 of them are returned? No, about 1/4%. Yeah, people love them.
Very rarely do we see returns.
I mean, I think we have 5 out of about 100.
Yeah, and sometimes that can be even
that could be an upgrade.
It can be an upgrade.
Oh yeah, well exactly. Let's not forget that. I mean, people on my subscribers that come and join these things and get involved, their return rate is very, very low, because I presume it's because they're highly intelligent people. Now, what is this membership thing? Yes, this is something new. I mean, it's built on what you do. I know you do wonderful follow-up training and teachings. What do they get as part of the deal when they buy a device, and what do they have to pay for beyond that point, if anything?
So we have we've developed an online training to kind of answer the questions that everyone has. You know, do you want to know how to treat your specific condition? We've bundled this all into a membership library. So in part, this allows us to take a platform of talking about anything we want without being under the scrutinizing, restrictive eyes of those health organizations, because you're agreeing that some of these treatments are off-label, but they're all phenomenal. So we have an expanding video library of over 200 videos. So whether you're looking to treat Parkinson's or Peyronie's disease, there's a protocol in there you can watch a video on and learn how to do it. Videos are about 3 to 5 minutes each. So it just walks you through how to use it with your device. We also have support, one-on-one support. We have a team of treatment coordinators. And actually, I think we have individual slides for all these, Keith. So we could cycle
Oh yeah,
through
shall
them.
we do it slide at a time? Yeah, okay. That's not a video you want me to play, is it? Oh no, that's an illustration of the video library. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, coordinator support. So, I mean, fairly strong in North America, but what about somebody in Europe, say, or Israel, or Australia? You know, we get people all over the planet, of course, that get excited.
So the treatment coordinator team are very, very flexible. So if you want to work by email, some people just want to have text to text. Some people want Zoom. Some people want calls. We do it all. And we understand the time differentials, obviously, as we're seeing today with this webinar. So it's just a flexibility thing. We just make sure the appointments are booked, and they'll make time to call and get the person. Really, the key here is to build a private protocol for the individual so that they're not having to rely on videos if they don't want to. They're not having to rely on theory. They can give all of their medical background. They can get asked questions that they may not even think, especially we mentioned the scars earlier and what you may think is or isn't one. And then you can have a private protocol that fits your health goals for you and really anyone in your extended family. Wow. So we think that's the important part of what we're doing.
That's more than fair. That's brilliant. You don't get that from other organizations, I can say that. Definitely. Right. So, this is more of the same. So there's a Facebook page group. I mean, people like me don't even know what that means. I only vaguely know what that means. But it's a private group where you can log, instead of logging online or going to, you just go to Facebook and join in. And the good thing about those, isn't it, I've been told, is that people can instruct each other. You know, you can, you know, you've bought a device and this guy in, you know, Hiroshima's got a device, and one might be telling the others without necessarily even referring to the leaders, because that person's got experience with the question, you know. Oh, I did that, you know, I got a great result with that kind of thing. So, oh yeah, so members, all right, well, shall we read them?
Oh, I think, you know, everyone.
Pretty well everyone that's involved in healthcare, wouldn't you say, plus home users?
Yeah, exactly. You can get some phenomenal advice and perspectives that you may not even consider. And when it comes to dentists that say have treated their own dental issues or clients' dental issues, if you have a dental abscess and you're trying to get a protocol, that dentist is probably going to be a little bit more qualified than we are as to how they've treated it. And they can share their opinions too. And we get some great mixed shared results with things like nutritional advice and different supplements that have worked for things as well. So you kind of get an all-encompassing plan and a community.
And because it's private, that people can say really what they feel rather than...
Yes, again, it's another one of those private clubs. So people can ask the real questions and get the real answers.
Yeah. Okay, well, I must say this has grown and grown, this sort of, you know, backup follow-through support. I think it's brilliant now what you guys are doing. I mean, you were, you know, done it with the greatest integrity right at the beginning, but, you know, you've built this now until it's really quite something, actually. Oh, it's another one. I think we've, yeah, so yeah, you can treat viruses. You can't say, well, you can say that, but you can't treat certain viruses. You know, don't go there. SWAT teams will be at your doorstep if you say you can deal with certain viruses. But viruses are just viruses. I mean, you know, in medical school, we used to have a joke: a virus is a piece of bad news wrapped in protein. And that's about all they are. They don't do anything. But when they get in a cell, they hijack the DNA and then they start to behave like living things, but they're not living up to that point otherwise. So anyway, bear that in mind. You can treat viruses very successfully, whether it's a bit of tonsillitis or or whatever that might be going on. Okay, so to sum up, and I'm going to leave you the links up while we do. Q&A is coming up in a couple of minutes, folks. Let's just be clear about what's on offer. Do you want to say the left, one on the left, and no, they're both Genesis, aren't they? So it's Genesis alone, and then Genesis with
kit.
yeah, and you've got this nice bonus of the listen, I want this mitochondrial recharge thing myself. Send one tomorrow, I demand it. Seriously, go on, explain. I'm joking. Explain to us, Rob, what are we offering here? What are you offering here?
We have the basic Genesis kit, which is just as is. That's its normal price. But as a special offer for attendees, we have the Genesis Deluxe kit with the $795, and we're including that mitochondrial recharge bundle because we consider it to be so important. And typically that costs about $158 in there. The kit includes the Y probe that I showed earlier, right here.
Yeah.
And also includes an acupuncture pencil probe, so you can treat meridians or fine areas. Pads, which are useful for the automatic treatment, and of course the device and the manual in both print and ebook formats, so they can get the kind of pocket version of the manual here, and they're able to just read the basic instructions in there. And then we have some getting started training cards and quick start guide cards as well that they can use, that are all included too.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Now, for those of you maybe hankering after something a little bit more complex, the evolution is the $1,500. There is a professional kit. Anyone who's totally stoned and impressed and wow, there is. It's quite expensive. It's with the complimentary kit, it's over $4,000. But for a professional person, if you're a dentist or a healer or a DO or a chiro or something, you would want to go straight to that. Trust me, it will do everything and more. These are just good home kits that will do brilliant things and will succeed 95% of the time, but missing certain layers. So tell us about this kit. So what are they getting for $19.95 now?
So this is our Evolution Deluxe kit. We mentioned that this earlier. The Evolution is the device that can do the mental health, the vagus nerve, all of those things, as well as the pain, scarring, regeneration. This kit is our most complete kit. It has a lot of extra attachments, most of which are to do with the vagus nerve or the brain, which is why they're not included in the Genesis kit. So you'll see they get the ear clips, which are used for neurofeedback. Those clip right onto the earlobes. There's some pads for treating the trigeminal nerve to try and access.
Those are the curvy things on the left, yeah, the curvy pads.
They curve over your eyebrows. Yeah. And there's a little pad underneath the brush there that goes on the vagus nerve, and it's actually meant to mimic the Y probe. It's the same size as the tip of the Y probe, so we can then just stick it right there. There is the Y probe, the same pencil electrode for doing the meridians and those fine points, and we also have a brush which is useful for pets as well as for treating your head, or if you've got a beard and you need to treat on your face, you can use the brush as well. We're also having a special webinar deal on this as well, in which you get a free Chi-Wave PEMF pad. And we mentioned PEMFs earlier. Now this is a very small, as you can see, so it's very directed PEMF pad. And what it does is it plugs into the Avazzia device, and then you can power the frequency into this pad. So if you need to switch between a passive PEMF and a microcurrent machine, you have that capability on demand. And typically that costs $300 as a standalone item, and that's being included for free here as well.
Right. Oh, brilliant deals. Okay, so have we got a final? Oh yeah, well, we want to make this point, don't we? If you want to act and get into this, join us, as it were, in this movement, then do so quickly. They will run out, these bonus items. But what you need to do is go to the correct website, which is thesanashop.com and /KSM. No prizes for guessing. That's my name, Keith Scott-Mumby. There's no dashes or dots or anything, just KSM, but it must be uppercase, capital letters, KSM. For you, anything else, it won't work. Don't ring us and say I typed it in exactly and it doesn't It's got to be capital K, capital S, and capital M. Before the .com part, it doesn't matter. You can do upper and lowercase and please yourself. It will find it before the .com. Once you do the slash after that, it's case sensitive. And you need to do uppercase KSM. So if you get over there now, or very soon anyway, Rob is going to answer some questions with us. But Rob, when you feel you've got to exit and go and start taking questions in the shop, we will understand. We will cope. Now, is there a final screen which we can leave the website up?
I think that one
No,
is
we'll have to leave it at that then. Yeah, next time I'd like just just the web, the URL.
okay.
But anyway, never mind. I don't think it's distracting in any way. I think you can see what it is that we suggest you get and where you go and get it, if we've inspired you in any way. Okay, now, promised questions. Let's do it. Let's start with some Q&As. Actually, there aren't so many tonight, which is good. Depends how well we answer anticipate the questions and actually answer. So Liz is asking, does this awaken dormant viruses? Talking to a friend about this therapy, and she said she'd been warned to check for a viral load prior to starting because it can activate them. Thank you. Who's going to say hooey?
It's a good question, but we've never had that happen. We treat people that have Lyme disease, which often involves dormant viruses, and we haven't seen it.
Well, true Lyme is a bacteria, but never mind.
And
true Lyme is Borrelia burgdorferi, not a virus. But a lot of people treat or call any kind of post-viral fatigue syndrome, even like COVID, they call that Lyme disease, which is wrong. It's not Lyme disease. It exists. I'm not arguing these people are deluded, but it's not Lyme disease. Sorry, interrupted you. Shut up, doctor.
No worries. We definitely have not had any concerns with that, Liz. So we're not worried about awakening dormant viruses at all. I can't imagine a world in which it would be possible. I think you'd have to have very high stimulation to kind of, shock them to do something like that. Yeah,
well, it's interesting. The friend was told. So it's not Liz, it's not her friend, it's the idiot that was talking to Liz's friend that doesn't know anything and just said, oh, you got to be, they will activate. No, not true. I've never heard of a case. I've never heard of a case from anyone who's, and I know thousands of people in the microcurrent therapy movement have been writing about it since 1999. Never heard of it once. All right, so can you use this with a pacemaker? This is a question that comes up every time and is a good question.
Yeah, so you can. You don't want to treat directly over the pacemaker. That's pretty much the only rule. If you're treating somewhere else on your body, that's totally fine. We just don't pass the electricity directly over the pacemaker.
Yeah, okay. Alexander, isn't this a clone of DNAS or scanar? Well, do you want to deal with the DNAS part? I mean, yes, of course, it's cloned from the scanar. Of course, we had 20 years of development. The DNAS is a multi-level marketed, or whatever they call it, device that hasn't got a fraction of the capabilities of what we're talking about. It's a very pale shadow of even a scanar. But we had trouble with the scanar, didn't we? I mean, you can nod or whatever, or join in, but their build quality was fairly crap. And trying to deal with the Russians, I mean, I'm not saying they're crooks or anything, but long distance, and it had to go via Yang de Jong in Holland to get any sense out of them in the end, and he died. It just all got too much.
It did.
Now, sorry.
Repair is so hard, Keith. It's just like impossible to get. If one breaks or if someone's dropped it in water or whatever, it's gone. Because you just can't send them back, especially at the moment. You can't get anything repaired.
Yeah. I've heard of them have gone missing in shipping.
Right. But
I know.
But the Avazzia total coverage, send it to you or send it. You can probably facilitate sending it direct, yes, under your aegis, as it were.
Ship it back to the factory, but we give them a number, so they just contact us, and we would give them a number, and then we also follow it through on their tracking number, so that we can make sure that it gets back to them usually within 6 days.
Right. Yeah. Okay, good. Excellent. Eric, so can this be used to treat stubborn toenail fungal infections? I've never heard that question before, and the answer is yes. You can make a lot of money because it's a bitch to get rid of.
Yeah, it's something that I think, you probably would be better suited with the evolution, because you'd have the ability to do the grounding protocol. And the grounding protocol seems to stabilize the pH of the body, and that makes fungus, viral things, parasites, candida, all these things have a hard time staying around. So it's one of the better treatments for that. But yes, in short, yes, it could be used for that.
Interesting. Eric, the next question is Eric, and he's saying, can we get the mitochondrial recharge kit for the Evolution device? That may mean he's got one, or Eric is thinking of getting the Evolution instead. So that would be a very, if you're still making up your mind, Eric, that would be a very positive yes for the Evolution for you.
Yes.
The grounding
all of these
protocols
can be purchased for the devices, so you can definitely get that kit for the Evolution.
Okay, Julie, does the Evolution have the auto treatment option?
No. So it doesn't have the automatic treatment, but I do find that if you're willing to put in a little bit of time at the beginning with the treatment coordinator, most people master the Evolution just as quickly as they do the Genesis. So even without the automatic treatments, you're just cycling through the modes and following your treatment plan.
Yeah, I mean, I can see a point, easy, just switch it on and it's easy. But it isn't that difficult to learn, Julie. Okay, Suzanne, please type the website. Well, I've typed the web. Oh, perhaps she wants it in writing. All right, type the answer.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, please do. Karen, does this fix leaky gut? It's a good question. Yeah.
So again, this is another case of yes, it's going to be easier with vagus nerve stimulation. Which is the Evolution, but it could definitely be worked on with the Genesis.
Okay, good. Bob, again, we've had this question, so this is a very positive yes for people. Does the Evolution come with mitochondrial recharge kit?
It doesn't.
Can we say that if you want to change out the mitochondrial recharge kit, you can have that instead of the Chi Wave?
Yes. Yeah. If you really want that, we can put that as a replacement. Just make note of it when you place the order.
Yeah. Okay. Bonita. Oh, I've lost my cursor. Oh, there we go. Found it. Bonita, will this device reduce hypertension?
Yes, we have a hypertension protocol. It's pretty straightforward to follow, but yes, you can definitely do hypertension with the device.
Okay. Karen, will it help osteoporosis?
Osteoporosis, yes. Both devices will help with it. The specific regenerative frequency for bone is in the Evolution, but you can use the broad spectrum regeneration in the Genesis as well.
Yeah, I would add to that, Kirsten. Stop drinking milk, take lots of magnesium, and don't forget boron, 3 milligrams, as well as the bone regeneration program of these things. Right, Janellen, she's got CLL leukemia, chronic lymphoid leukemia, so not a solid tumor. Would this stimulate the growth of cancer? Well, be very careful with your answer, folks. Be guarded with your answer.
I would not. Would you?
I mean, I don't really know. It's a fair answer, right?
I don't really know. I think we've had a few people with leukemia specifically that have done vagus nerve stimulation and had no issues, but I wouldn't do too much more in that case. But the truth is, we don't really know for sure.
Yeah, okay, so I mean, I think she's saying you should love one and it all sounds good, but a bit scared of that it might do some harm, and we can't totally reassure you, Janellen. Virginia, caution if you have, is there a caution needed if you have a titanium rod or screws in your leg?
Nope.
Metal prosthetic devices don't seem to cause any trouble at all, do they?
No.
And anonymous, which only means they didn't fill out their name, they're not being tricky, and may or may not be the same as the other anonymous that's coming up. Anyway, anonymous, will degenerating discs regenerate?
Yes.
Yes, they will. You have to take care of the inflammation first, so it got a little bit of a long game to it, but you definitely can regenerate.
And there'll be some scarring too. You'd have to treat the collapsed disc as a scar tissue. And you know, there may be a degree of scoliosis or kyphosis and things, which it's brilliant for solving, isn't it? Scoliosis, you can have a really bendy spine and straighten the whole thing up in a matter of minutes. Would it work on connective tissue diseases? I'm going to answer that. Absolutely. We didn't mention, but one of the scientific principles of this is conduction of signals through the collagen tissue. Our collagen tissue makes us rather like a liquid display crystal, and it's a superconductive mechanism that enables the body to be kept in coordination and harmony, and this plays right into that. So absolutely plays into healthy connective tissue. Anyone want to add something or challenge me? Come on.
Oh, I think you got it.
Nailed it. Okay. Cynthia, is there a way to get the mitochondrial recharge kit other than by getting the Genesis? Yes, by the
I'm going to jump
evolution.
because I think this is going to be a common question. If you're looking for it, there is a search box in the top right of the website. You can type in mito or mitochondrial. It'll pop right up for you. So you don't have to be searching through the dozens of attachments to find it.
And if people would prefer it with the evolution than the Chi Wave, the answer
Just let
is
us know.
yes.
You can trade them out, yes. And then some of these might be questions from somebody who's got a device and they're hungering after the mitochondrial thing. So as you say, if you use the search box to find it, if you want to trade it out, we've done a very resounding yes to several people on that question. Ernest, I have the Avazzia Life without any accessories. It says weren't offered back then. It must have been a long time ago, Ernest, or you weren't paying attention. We take you at your point. So there's no question, though. What is the question? Would you like to buy the accessory kit separately? Please, if that's so, just type it in later. We'll get around to it. And I'm fairly sure the answer is going to be yes. They can buy it separately, yeah? We already said that. It was like 300 extra, a discount that we... No, that was something else. Anyway... if that's what the real question, Ernest, type it in for us. But yes, you can buy them separately. You know, I'm having trouble with my cursor. It keeps disappearing when I get... there we go. Oh no, that is something odd. It disappears when I get it on the slide bar. Are you fiddling with it, Rob?
Yeah, I had mine on there. I'll leave it alone.
Oh, one of us has to leave it alone. Well, actually, I can't work it now. I'm trying to scroll down. Anyway, next one, Anthony. Will it prevent shingle? Start again. Will it prevent shingles? Shingles, if you don't know, is a herpes. Herpes infection that lingers in the nerves. It's the chickenpox virus that lingers in the nerves and then comes out in later years. I mean, how would you know it's going to come? So, in other words, if you treated somebody and they didn't get it, how would you know they wouldn't get it anyway? That's a tricky question. I'm not saying Anthony's being tricky, but
well, I just spoke to someone about last week actually that had been doing the immune boost protocol for a couple of months, and they used to have like shingles outbreaks all the time, and they were saying they haven't had any since doing it. I can't say that, you know, one person proves anything, but by boosting your immune system, surely that prevents the virus from coming out and keeping your stress levels low, right?
Right. I'll need to talk about that with you myself later then, because people are always asking for, new ways to deal with viruses and so on. Listen, I've got a total problem being able to scroll. Will you scroll for me? If you can do it, Rob.
So this...
we've just done Anthony. Will it prevent shingles? So we're back to Alexander. You can't do it either?
What's this?
I'm not sure.
It's not moving.
I'm me to read the questions, Keith?
Yes, read them and answer them. I can't. Can you see right down to the bottom? I can't see. I'm halfway down, and I can't use the scroll bar at the side anymore.
We can.
I can keep scrolling.
But it's not changing mine. So all right. So that's odd, isn't it? What else can I do? I wonder.
Could you close the and try opening it again?
That's a good. No, I can't, because the cursor disappears when I hit the close box. All I do is lose the page. Oh crap! Now I've done it.
That's okay. I'll So Alexander seems to be talking about the returns of the devices being issued.
Yeah, let's go back to the end.
It's a follow-up, I think.
Got it this time. That did. So I've closed my version of the Q&A box. I'd like to look at some chat as well. We've got 12 chats. I'm going to.
Okay. Should I skip over to the chats, or should we stick with the Q&A?
No, you stick with the Q&A. I'm going to browse the chats and see what,
okay.
whether they're similar questions or what.
Shelley is asking, can this help with Dupuytren's in the hand? We've had a lot of success with Dupuytren's.
Yeah.
It can be a long process. That, for people that don't know, is where you get the tissue buildup, the scar tissue buildup, which sort of claws your hand in and makes it hard for you to use your fingers. And so we treat it like scar tissue, and we've had some very, very good results with Dupuytren's. Ernest is asking how to treat my peripheral neuropathy in both legs. Peripheral neuropathy is challenging to treat with either of these two devices. We find that a lot of time we need the professional device because the nerves need very high frequencies and very low frequencies to get the best response, and we don't have quite that bandwidth in the other units.
I'm sorry.
I'm
struggling. I can't get any traction on scrolling the chat or the questions. Can I leave it to you guys, please? I'm sorry to be in this pathetic state. We've still got lots and lots of people on the call, so
we do, yeah.
I mean, the questions are growing faster than you're answering them, actually.
We'll get through if we're here all day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So which device should I buy if I have arthritis in 3 fingers on my right hand and I have pain and probably arthritis in my feet? So either device, Lisa, is going to help you. You're going to have a couple of specialized modes in the evolution that can really help push you through to fixing this more quickly. Vagus nerve stimulation being a big part of arthritis because it's inflammatory. So I would suggest, if budget allows, the evolution. If not, the Genesis is going to help you as well.
It's a good start.
It's a good start. Which device or package is best for treating Peyronie's disease? So again, Peyronie's disease responds to scar tissue treatments. So in fact, either of them will work for treating Peyronie's disease. You could do the Genesis or the Evolution. The membership is included. How much is the membership from Julie? The membership is included for the first 2 months or 60 days once you activate it. And then after that, it's $48 a month or $400 for life. So those are the 2 options there. For the Genesis and the Evolution device, many people find that they don't need to continue that membership. They've got everything they need in those first few months, especially with the one-on-one support. Warranty-wise, we have a 2-year, we have a 3-year warranty on our devices. And after that, repairs are $195, regardless of what's wrong with the issue once the 3 years are up. Julie's asking, do we help with candida and parasites? We definitely have had success in treating those, but it's more of a full body, holistic thing, much like the cancer suggestion. It's about helping the body recover. Ernest is asking, does it help get rid of hemorrhoids? What do you think about that one?
Well, yes, I would say yes.
Because they're inflammation, aren't they?
Yeah, and I would use the rectal.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a rectal attachment that you can use, which is the same sort of style as the vaginal attachment that can definitely help with hemorrhoids for sure. Julie asks, will it help with detox? We have a full detox program. It's not recommended to do it very, lackluster. You don't want to just throw it and say, I'm going to do this. You can work on supporting the organs that are involved in the detox process as well.
We like to make sure that the organs are ready for the detox.
Yeah.
So we like to make sure they have the vital energy.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's not going to feel too good to do it. So Julie's got a longer question here. I have a friend who 6 weeks ago had endometrial tumor removed with a total hysterectomy. Now they want to do chemo and radiation, which she doesn't want. How would she use this to help her heal? So she will need to support the body, vagus nerve stimulation, mitochondrial recharge, even stress reduction is going to be huge, because the stress on the body is going to be big there. And with hysterectomies, they typically go laparoscopically, right? Or through the vagina. And so people don't imagine the scar tissue there, but as they cut the uterus out, they're cauterizing it along the way. So there's a lot of scar tissue to work on. So there'll be quite a bit of abdominal in there.
And but she's still got her chemo and radiation. So is there anything left? So maybe vagus nerve.
Yeah, I think.
And the mitochondria.
Yeah, yeah. If the it would be helpful to know if the tumor was successfully removed, like completely. But if they're looking at doing chemo and radiation, you're right, it kind of indicates that there may still be something.
So maybe more of a support system rather than anything else at the present time.
Yeah, but it'll definitely help.
Can I suggest this is very, very loaded? I think I'd rather you dealt with it privately than on a public.
For us to answer a question, more information.
Anyone who wants to ask questions privately, the hashes are lovely. What you can do is reply to my emails and I'll forward them. Will that do? Can they find you through Pacific Health Options or Pain Free for Life? Is there a feedback box where a person can make contact and talk to you in more detail?
Yeah.
Otherwise, this is going to end up a full medical consultation. Anyway, you're quite right. You need to ask questions before you can give answers or advice. But it's it's dangerously close to a medical consultation, I think.
I say then if they go to painfreeforlife.com, they can book a consultation. We have a complimentary consultation for 30 minutes, and that would be the best for some of these bigger questions.
Seems to me, yeah. And also, by the way, if you go to this website, the purchase website, thesanashop.com/KSM in capitals, there is a chat box there, which Rob will be on later in the evening. Oh, no, sorry, you're morning, aren't you? Yeah. Later in the day. And he's pretty good at answering those chat questions too. In fact, he goes at it for hours and hours after one of these webinars. Sorry to land you in it, Rob, but there are lots of questions. I mean, it throws up more questions than it answers in a way, because it's so exciting, so new, and the possibilities just seem so appealing, don't they?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Ernest is asking about testimonials from people who have healed from HIV, herpes, or coronavirus. I think, again, if you want to private message me, I'll see what I can find for you. I'll have to look through the archives on that front. He's also asking about whether we have an affiliate program. And we do. Again, if you're a professional, you can absolutely message us about that.
But it's not MLM.
It's not MLM, no. No. How much difference is the professional model? Is a question from Julie. So the professional model, you got it right here. It has a screen on it, which allows you to evaluate the body. It has 53 programs as opposed to 8 in the evolution. And it's got the ability to be programmed as well. So you can make your own programs. So there's a lot of additional features. And if you're really interested in it, I encourage you to look at the website. There's a lot of information on there. The setting for the mitochondrial recharge on the Avazzia, that we typically use Blue Stimulate, which is why it can be done with either device. Karen is asking, which is better, the evolution or genesis to treat depression and anxiety in teens? The evolution. We don't actually have the real good programs for treating depression and anxiety in the genesis. So the evolution is absolutely going to win out there.
Excellent, yes.
Oh, we're still going, guys. We good on time?
It's going to last, as I said, at one stage, the questions were coming up faster than you were. Oh, you still are, you're losing. This question's gone up one in the last 15 minutes. Keep going.
What are the major differences between the devices? Rose and Scott Berman are asking, Rosa and Scott. There's a major difference between...
Don't give second names.
Oh, sorry.
A bit of privacy, yes.
The major differences between the Genesis and Evolution units and kits. So aside from vagus nerve stimulation and the brain work in general, the Evolution also has a specialized mode for really chronic pain that we call fMRSI. And this mode is for long-term things. It has the onboard pharmacy included in it, as well as being able to work over the areas. And it's very effective for joint damage as well. Otherwise, you're mostly looking at the improved sleep from the evolution, the stress reduction, the vagus nerve, the mental health component as the additional things. And in the kits themselves, we mentioned this earlier, but the evolution has a brush and it has all of the things equipped to work on the brain. Otherwise, the kits are pretty much the same. Ernest, I'll have to take that. That's a very big question, so I will have to take that privately for you. Karen, which unit would help with Alzheimer's disease? It would, if there's going to be one, it would be the evolution. The gamma frequencies in the evolution are good for dealing with glial cells, brain detoxing, and things like that. Patty is asking the anticipated shipping cost to the US. So it's $35 shipping for either of the kits. And that is express, like quick shipping, fully insured and trackable. So that's why that cost is a little bit higher than some other places. We don't want to have it taken away off the doorstep by someone stealing it or to lose track of it.
That only happened a couple of times, but it has happened.
So we really specific with our shipping costs to make sure that we can cover all that. Does it help with atrial fibrillation? I believe if John was here, he would say yes, through vagus nerve stimulation. I don't have too much experience with that, but John's mentioned to me before. Miss H is saying, is there a protocol for stroke that shut down the left side of the body?
Yes.
We have done stroke.
We have. And John mentions again, vagus nerve stimulation. There's been some clinical trials actually in Texas with vagus nerve stimulation and strokes. We also have a tongue stimulation protocol for cranial nerves that can be done as well. And that stimulates the tongue to affect the brain. And that can be done with either device. Yeah. And then the vagus nerve is the evolution.
That's Norman Doidge's PONS protocol. Yeah, for those of you who might have heard about that, that's what Rob is talking about.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of the box, I think, here. Ernest is saying, does this help treat ADD? Because it was suggested that I get neurofeedback, so the evolution device sounds perfect. We have had success with ADD. I think in the trial we did internally, we had it's a 75% improvement for people. 75% of people that were trialed got improvement from their ADHD or ADD, both. And so, yeah, the evolution does sound perfect for you. It seems like it's really lining up with what you need. Sandy is saying, can you cross the spine? Thinking of treating disc issues. So typically, we work down the spine. So if my finger is your spine, we would work down it like this instead of straddling it like this. So that way we stay along the spine and to either side of the spine instead of crossing it. Julie is asking, will it help with NAFLD? Keith, do you know what NAFLD is?
Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Fatty liver, but not cirrhosis due to alcohol, in other words.
Okay, so we have had some success in helping with liver failure, liver issues like that. So you'd be able to work on that. But Keith, do you have any other suggestions?
Well, it's absolutely essential that the person get on a keto diet, or at the very least a paleo diet. But keto dieting, let me tell you a little story, which is that hummingbirds go fatty liver every day. They feed on sickly, sugary nectar. By tea time, their livers are all messed up with fat. They're milky white livers, but they sleep it off overnight. And then the next morning, in other words, they fast. 6 hours not doing anything for a hummingbird is like a day's fast for a human. It all goes back to normal. So the idea that fatty liver is something you're stuck with, that's more American, more medical baloney. It's reversible, and the same thing actually happens in bears that hibernate. They overeat on starches and their liver gets rotten. But while they hibernate, it all shrinks down again, then it goes back to normal. So it's possible to put this back to normal, a normal liver, and it takes as little as 10 days to suck out most of the fat. It's really incredible, but you have to use the keto approach, or as close to keto as you can get. That's in addition to using microcurrent support.
Perfect. And Julie also asked, do we have training on helping pets? I did a extensive crash course on that actually 2-3 weeks ago. It's about an hour and a half long. So it's all about pets. We cover cats, dogs, and horses primarily in there. Okay.
Yep.
And will we post the recording afterwards, Keith? You'll be emailing that out, won't
Yes,
you?
we will. Yeah, I'll email everybody that's registered anyway. I shan't miss out the ones that attended. So everyone will get the link. And if you only saw part of it, would like the whole thing, just click on the link and follow the video up to the point where you joined us, because a lot of people joined us after the top of the hour, of course.
Perfect. We've got a question here. Which device is better if you have no feeling in the back of your calves, nothing hurts, but there's no feeling? The Evolution has more powerful programs to get through and feel again in there, because essentially what you're going to have to do is kind of
Wake it up.
Wake it up, yeah. And you want the more pulse heavy programs that can keep hitting and hitting and hitting until the door is answered. So the Evolution's your answer there.
The trouble might be higher up in the spine, of course. There could be pressure on the nerves in the spinal area. You should definitely look at that as the possible trigger point for it. And also make sure that you don't have a deficiency of B12 that's producing significant loss of sensation in the lower limbs. A couple of things your doctor should know about. It's probably all been checked. And if it's all been checked, you've got the all clear, then exactly what Rob said, it's good. Just do it.
Which unit, this is a question from John, which unit would help for stenosis, cardiomyopathy, COPD, congestive heart failure? You're going to be looking at the Evolution, or
that's way beyond the Genesis, that one, I think.
That's way beyond. You may even want to consider the Pro Sport if it's within your budget, because it's going to give you a lot of flexibility, but the Evolution should be able to help with that. Julie's asking, do we know how our product is different than Dr. Tennant's? Our product is not dramatically overpriced, for one thing. Dr. Tennant's professional device is identical to ours, but it costs about triple. So
it's what we call private labeling. It's the same device. He puts his own label on it and marks it up vastly. I don't think you want to go there. There's no significant difference in the professional device, but the Genesis and Evolution are unique to you, to Pain Free for Life and Pacific Health Options. You can't get them anywhere else. You can't even buy them from the Avazzia company. Only buy them from us.
Okay, we got 2 more questions in the Q&A box. Last one, any help with macular degeneration? And the answer is absolutely. Either device will be able to help with macular degeneration. You would probably want to pick up the microcurrent goggles, which allow you to treat both eyes at the same time. It treats all around your eyes, it treats on the eye itself. And that can be very good for nice short eye treatments that just deliver maximum therapy.
Worth mentioning the capability of these devices of increasing blood flow. That means bringing more nutrition, taking away more toxins, as I said. Very helpful for macular degeneration and cataracts.
And can this be used if you have POTS? I think yes, it can. John's told me about that. Yeah, no problem.
And I think that's the last
That's
one.
the last. Oh, we just got another one.
Oh, no.
Stop it. It'll be there forever. You've got to start on the chat next, haven't you? Or are we doing the chat?
I think maybe Rebecca's asking if the Pro Sport is our own device. It's not. We've helped design what modes are in the Pro Sport, but it is not a private label model. It's like generic professional model. John, wow, we got a lot more questions. Like 9 came in. John is saying post nasal drip and clogged sinuses. Yes.
No problem.
No problem. Either device.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest is asking, can you make a deposit on the device and then have the device shipped once you pay it off? We have done that before. Just contact us by email or on our website.
Or contact Keith.
Keith.
Yeah, we're very adaptable, amenable people.
Yeah.
Okay, Julie says thank you. She's done with her questions. Karen, which unit would fix concussion problems? That comes down again to Norman Doidge's tongue stimulation, the cranial nerves. If you're going to be looking at concussion problems, either device is going to work, but you need the tongue stimulator. It's about $70 and it's a probe. Got one right here, actually. It's a little thin probe. It allows you to put it in your mouth without zapping any metal fillings or creating any discomfort. It's super thin and it just sits right there on the tongue. You need that to deal with concussion problems. Vagus nerve stimulation, it could be helpful as well, but I find concussion tongue stimulation is your go-to. Okay, so we for real did finish the Q&A box, I think. Unless another one just came out.
I was going to say, let's draw an end. Answer the next one and say no more Q&A because we have to do the chat box yet.
Yeah.
There probably aren't many there, but
can it help with thyroid issues? Thyroid is tough because we don't typically like to stimulate the thyroid, do we?
We don't work. We never work on the thyroid. It's just one of those rules.
You can work around it with one of our protocols called Pirogov's ring, but we purposely avoid it. So it's not going to help as much as you probably would hope with thyroid issues. Okay, that was the last Q&A question. We're on to the chat. Let's see what we got here. So one of the questions here was, is the manual physical or just digital? The number of pages, please. So it depends on the manual. The Genesis manual, they're both physical and digital. You get both.
So you get the digital as soon as you purchase the device, and then when
this comes in the kit.
This comes with the kit.
The Genesis one is 44 pages, and the Evolution is 52 pages. So there's not too much of a difference. It's also not a huge book. We're not talking like a big textbook size book. It's a small book. It fits in the case with the device. So it's nice and easy to digest. I'm not sure. We had a comment, Keith, that said had a look like a side effect of Coumadin. That may have been about one of the slides. Question there, can we help with tinnitus?
Oh, yes. Sorry, get back to the Coumadin.
Yeah, so they didn't ask a question. They just said that looked like a side effect of Coumadin.
Okay, so I don't know. As you say, it's not a question. Next.
Okay, next. Can this help with tinnitus?
We have had some success, but not always. It's a really difficult one to handle.
Yeah, and it's always different things, some different part of different protocols that works when it works. So we don't have a definitive tinnitus protocol outside of stimulating acupuncture points and ear points with the pencil probe. But it seems to be about a 50-50 thing, which may not be what you want to hear, but that's just the case with it. I think we may have answered this question in the Q&A. Which device should I buy if I have arthritis in 2 fingers on my right hand and pain in both feet?
Yeah.
So I think that was the Evolution, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Any cautions about the screws and the regenerating discs? We got that one done. Will it help with idiopathic neuropathy in the feet with no diabetes? Again, we talked about neuropathy a little bit. It can be challenging without the pro sport, but the Evolution is your best bet. And it depends on how chronic it is as well. Like, we've had it for a very, very long time. It's going to be very hard to make a move with it without the pro sport. We got the question about the testimonials in there. The hemorrhoids question we did, and the ADD. Perfect. Can it deal with prostate enlargement, BPH, and prostatitis? And is there a special attachment like on the skeena to deal with this? Yes. So it can help. Two things. One, this G-Wave pad can be really, really good for BPH. You can just sit on it and treat yourself. The other thing is we have a prostate electrode, which I think is pretty similar to the one from the scanner, that can be used to deal with that. And either device, Genesis or Evolution, would be effective. And what about Meniere's disease? I think that one is more of a vagus nerve full system treatment. If I recall, I think I've only had one client with Meniere's disease in the last 2 years, but it came down to vagus nerve stimulation more than anything else.
I would try Deutsch's protocol as well. I think
That might be a good.
cranial nerve feedback. That's the auditory nerve, of course, the eighth cranial.
The tongue stimulation.
And yes, it says it. Anyway, ask these questions in the chat at the shop as well. Before you make up your mind, can it regenerate teeth? Somebody's been reading about, now what's his name? Peter Garayev, the Russian. Somebody told me they bumped off Peter Garayev. I hope that's not true. I hope he just died of natural causes. But, you know, he's a very controversial figure. He invented what's called wave genetics. That you can, I mean, one of the experiments he did was to shine laser light through the teeth, you know, good teeth, and had a lady start to grow from her own gums, growing new teeth, because it was carrying the message of growing baby teeth. It was a very, you know, startling experiment, never been replicated, but it was certainly interesting work. Anyway, did it get Peter Garayev killed? I don't know. People do die of old age. It's not all conspiracy against holistic healers, you know. I just don't know. But I only learned of that a few weeks ago. I was quite shocked.
Yeah, and I remember actually hearing about that as well. And honestly, with the question of can it regenerate teeth, anything we do dentally takes a fairly long time to see results. I've had people heal roots in teeth that were going to get a root canal. And because of dental infection, but it's taken them 6 months to a year to get the result. So it takes a lot of dedication. With not being a dentist, it might be a good question to ask of one of the dentists in our group.
Yeah. Okay, that's the last one, I hope. It's the last one on my list anyway. Have you got some more?
It looks like we got two in the Q&A box if you want to answer those before we go.
Well, you answer them, but you've got to draw the line somewhere. You've got to say, right, that's the last question I'm going to answer. Otherwise, it'll go on forever. Don't forget, you know, let me repeat it, but you can repeat it yourselves as well, that you're available to answer questions if they go to this website, thesanashop.com/KSM in uppercase letters. There's a box on the bottom right corner. If you click on the box and chat, it will pop up a box and you can chat with somebody there at the shop, which in 15 minutes time will probably be Rob himself.
Yes.
So
last two questions, guys. So from Shelly, can it help dry mouth with saliva stimulation? Tongue stimulator will definitely improve that, yes.
Either device with a tongue stimulator. No, it'd be the Evolution, yeah? For that.
That's right,
yeah. Okay.
And Karen is saying, a friend has just been diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. Would this help with the scar tissue? And the answer to that is yes. So we are at the end of our questions.
Yes, even if there's another question, you're not to answer it now. We've got to stop somewhere. Listen, it's been a great evening. You've poured forth your knowledge, you two. It's really great. I'm very impressed. I'm very inspired to have you as friends, you know, like real friends. You know, we've been and stayed with you up there in Vancouver Island. Very beautiful. Courtney, very beautiful part of the world. And I look forward to that again soon. Anyway, that's it for the webinar, folks. We've answered tons and tons of questions. We've placed something in front of you that really is a medical healing miracle. You know, we're not trying to pretend it can heal everything 100% successfully, but it's been wonderful to share. And if you do decide to join this little community, it's a wonderful, vibrant community of people that are spreading good in the world, healing and helping, and especially curing pain, which is so very distressing, as you know. So it just remains for me to say thanks to my two panelists. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone else.
Yes, thanks for joining.
Thanks for everyone who turned up. Okay, you take care now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now I think I have to stop the sharing to stop the recording, don't I? I believe. Yes, there we go.